Good evening and welcome back to the Australian Stock Market Show. My quote for tonight comes from Robert Trivers, who said, "A very disturbing feature of overconfidence is that it often appears to be poorly associated with knowledge. That is, the more ignorant the individual, the more confident he or she may be." With the bull market following the COVID meltdown, Dale and I have seen many overconfident people who in the current bearishness are learning how much they don't know. Our goal for tonight is that we help you understand the current market as we give you our upfront, no BS approach to all things stock market. We're excited about our show tonight, so get ready as we challenge you to learn. For our main topic tonight, we're discussing lithium and we'll share some stocks that you might consider for your watch list. Stay tuned as Dale and I get into that and plenty more. Hello, I'm Janine Cox, your host for tonight, and joining me is Dale Gillham, and we're Australia's most trusted stock market educators. Good evening, Mr. Gillham.
Good evening, Mrs. Cox. How are you? Why so formal?
I just thought it'd be something different.
Yeah, okay.
Start off on a good wicket, we're not at each other's throats tonight.
That is good. That's always nice that we actually get along. That's really fine. But I mean, at least we're not getting into a political discussion because I'm over politics at the moment.
Oh, actually, I won't raise what I was going to say then.
Oh, what were you going to say?
No, because we do want to have this show on a nice even keel. We don't want to have too much of the fisticuffs tonight, do we?
No, I'm not. We're seeing it play out on our screens every single night on the news and everything else with what's going on with the politicians.
Yeah, it's a very trying time.
I think there should be a four-letter word to describe a politician.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm
Look,
not going to
given
say
that you're keeping on talking about it, it's a bit of a shame that we don't know the full set of policies that both sides are producing, even at this point, so close to the election, which really annoys us, doesn't it?
Oh, it annoys the hell out of me. It annoys the hell out of me
anyway,
how they do the election.
Politics is like a dirty word, isn't it?
It is. It's a four-letter word.
Oh.
But anyway,
Since when?
Well, we need to get back in the show. Let's get off politics, but we'll get out of the show, get out of all that and get into the show. But before we get into our first segment for tonight, again, we're going to take some live calls on the show. So if you do want to chat to Janine and I and ask us a question, then this is your opportunity to pick up your phone and call us now. The number you need to call is 0392909988. That's 03 for Melbourne, 92909988. And to get things started, the first person to call into the show right now will get a copy or free copy of my latest book, Accelerate Your Wealth. Now, Janine, I know I love taking calls every single week, and I know you do.
Oh,
so
it's the fun part.
Let's tell everybody, pick up your phone, get dialing right now.
While we wait for you to call, it is the third Tuesday in the month, and this means that Dale and I will give you our thoughts on world stock markets. So let's get into the charts.
All right, so on the screen is our normal watch list of all of the world markets, not all of them, but the major ones there. That's some monthly figures that you're seeing.
Geez, you're on the ball.
Right. Do I get a gold star for that? Like
you're
I
quick
picked
tonight.
it. I know, I just put my glasses on in time.
I was hoping to trip you up again, but no, I didn't succeed a third time in a row.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, that means I'm...
Cool. All right then. So should we look at monthly or yearly?
Monthly's fine.
Monthly's fine.
We can go to yearly. I'm not...
No? Okay.
Well, you're running the show.
Gotcha.
Don't ask me.
Straits Times Industrial Index is at the top of the leaderboard, so 1.94% up, and the FTSE's not far behind.
But I mean, it was way behind last year, wasn't it, Singapore?
Yeah.
It was down so much last year. The FTSE didn't perform that well last year.
FTSE was down as well, so, it's good to see it actually up there. But still, look at the board. It's all red, really, isn't it?
Look at the Australian market. We're still at the top of what that,
I just tricked you then, didn't I? Did you see that?
I know.
Okay, ASX 200, minus 4.7%. The All Ordinaries is down 6 at the moment for the calendar year. So we're seeing Tokyo actually down 7.5. Yep. The Nikkei is down 8.77%. India slightly behind that, 9.15. But then we go into Europe. The Dow Jones down 11%. And the CAC's down 11.8%, which surprised me, and so is the DAX. But let's go down to the Asian markets, which seem to be at the bottom.
So Hong Kong down over 15,
Shanghai
down over 15.
Yeah, over 15. And then we've got the NASDAQ 100 down 25. So that's the tech side of it, still pulling that market down or holding it back. The NASDAQ Composite Index down 25%.
I know, with the S&P 500 down 15, because a lot of the top 10 stocks in S&P 500, there's big heavy weighting in tech stocks, so that's why that's down around 16%, where the Dow has a different way it's composed. So it's not necessarily the top 30 or the biggest 30 stocks in the US market, where the S&P 500 is the stocks under market capitalisation. Not a lot of people understand that.
What are stocks in the Dow that you like?
I knew you'd ask me that, and I haven't prepared for it. But I do like the tech stocks moving forward, but not right now. I think there's some really good stocks in that. But I think some of those old traditional stocks in the Dow, I think they're going to outperform. Like, I know, we talked about this. Well, I think we talked about this. But when when the tech boom bust happened back in the early 2000s, there was like the old economy. The new economy was in, the old economy was out. I think the old economy is going to come back.
Great.
I really do.
Okay.
How's that?
So
That's
over
my
the
take.
next couple of years, you say?
Yeah, I think some of those old stocks that were hit really hard for a long period of time, they're going to start coming back again.
Okay, excellent.
They're in the Dow for a reason. They really are in the Dow.
So you would think then that's going to drive the Dow higher, but not in the short term at the moment.
Not in the short term at the moment, but the Dow's held up pretty well, as you said, down
done
over
really
11%.
well, hasn't it?
Yeah, but anyway.
All right, that is it for our take on the world markets. Now it's time to get into our first email for tonight.
Alrighty, our first email tonight is from Peter, who says, "Hi guys, just like to know if you could look at Atomos as it's looking oversold, and I'm considering a buy for the short term with a tight stop loss. Love to hear your thoughts. Thanks, Peter." So he's picked the stock.
Yeah, now Atomos, I think we talked about a few weeks ago, didn't we?
We talked. Atomos was a hot tip that I did last year that took off like a rocket after I did it, and I said at the time it was only a short-term type of trade. It took off, and now it's reversed. So it was basically, if I grab my little mouse, and I'll show you roughly where we're talking about it, and I'll bring up on the weekly chart. So basically, we were talking about it here, and it took off like a rocket, and in a short-term trade. So I was talking about it around about that dollar. I said it went through sort of a dollar-ish. It'd be a good place to get into it. But I know a few people who bought it didn't sell, and they watched it keep falling away. Right now, I don't agree with Peter at the moment. I think there's nothing saying to me this has stopped falling. And yeah, it is a stock that you would trade short term, but I can't see anything at the moment. I mean, whilst it's possible it has bottomed, I mean, look at the volume coming through on this bar here. Massive amount of volumes, but
often that can signal the lows in, can't it?
Yeah, it can. So it's possible, but it could go sideways for months or years, couldn't it?
Yeah, true, it could.
So again, it's
too risky.
It is a little bit too risky. So it's about whether it does find some support there and starts to move up. And as we've said so many times, we'd rather give up money down the bottom to know it's moving up than to jump early just because it's cheap, because it is a speculative buy, or would be a speculative buy right now. But I don't know.
Hello, Karen. Look, Karen, are you there? I'm trying to hold on to you. I know that you've got a great stock for us to talk about tonight.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, fantastic. That's better. Lovely to hear from you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about SGM, Sims Limited.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. And what's your question for tonight?
I bought it at $19.09 when it broke through the high.
Okay. Which high?
And it's now fallen back.
Yes.
So I wanted to gather your thoughts on it.
Right. Okay. Well, look, we'd love to help you out there and have a look at it for you. Would you mind just letting us know what the time frame of the trade was? Oh, okay, she's gone. Unfortunately, we didn't catch that information, but we will have a look at SGM, so let's go to the charts.
Okay, so I've got the chart up for her, and I've marked 1990, and she said she bought it on the way up to the high, or past the all-time high, so she would have bought it on this rise up. So interesting that where she bought it, but right now it doesn't look good, does it?
Look, I just thought that where she bought it, there was nothing wrong with it. Looking at it, I mean, it had just broken through. If we go to the monthly chart, here, it had just broken through a really important level there.
Yep.
Okay, if I can get rid of all of that, we can see. And it was looking like it was in, a territory that would just take it higher. So I don't have an issue with where she bought it necessarily. Okay. I just think this is the nature of the beast. It's a volatile share, and it's just come back to find support at the moment. We don't know whether it's going to keep rising or not, but it might just go sideways for a little bit before we know. However, I'd still make sure that I had a stop loss on it, just because of the nature of this type of share.
So how much is she so she's obviously losing at the moment. So how much is she losing by at the moment? She bought it at 19.90.
Look, let's just have a quick look. That's a good thought. So if we grab it from that line that you've got there, she's down only around 7%.
That's nothing much, is it really?
No.
You know, so
And we don't know what the time frame of the trade was that she was looking at, but if she's looking sort of more medium term, short to medium term or medium term, then that's fine.
So you'd have a 15% stop loss on this one? Or?
Yeah, I think for a stock like this you need to because of the way that it moves. Otherwise you're just going to get whipped in and out, which this is an example of that sort of thing happening. I just think this is a bit of a pullback with the current market volatility as well.
Yeah, it might be just bumping its head on its previous support or resistance.
Yeah, I guess from Karen's point of view, she could do a bit of research and just read online, see if there's been any announcements that may be company specific. So when a stock's pulling back, you want to try to understand whether it's about the company's results or something that's come out, or whether it's a lot of market sentiment that's affecting it. If it's more market sentiment, then I think, it's got a really important support level just below where it's trading.
All right, well, that's it for Sims Metal, but I think we've got another caller on the line. Do we have Terry there?
I do.
Hello, Terry. How you doing, mate?
Very well to hear from you.
Good. Where you from, mate?
Southwest Rocks, New South Wales.
Okay, and you've got a call for... You've got a question for us tonight, Terry? Nope, I think I've lost Terry. I think we've got...
So I in Invocare for several years.
Yep, Invocare, yep.
No, I'm here. Hello?
Yeah, I think we've lost Terry and all. He's asking about Invocare, so let's go and have a look at it anyway.
Yeah, look, I mean, I heard him say a number of years, but I don't know whether that means that he's already holding it or whether he's just been watching it for a number of years. But, I mean, looking at the way that it's unfolding at the moment, I guess I'd just be a little bit cautious on it because it's really been struggling to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So we've seen, all of these peaks here, May 2020, and then again early 2021. And again in September, and now more recently we've seen these highs. So it's just really struggling to get through and move on. And the problem with that is when you start to see that happen, the real risk is that it could just turn on the downside without giving a lot of warning. So you just want to be cautious on that. Make sure you've got a good stop loss if you are in it. If you're not in it yet, I would still be very cautious. And I guess, you'd want to see it get through all of that noise. Before you'd even be willing to entertain the idea of it.
So if he's not in it, wait for a bit. If he is in it, make sure he's got a stop losses. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that's really important for a share like this. Look at how volatile it's been in the history of the stock, and it's on the other side. Like, obviously this was a big boom here. We haven't seen anything like that nice trending period that was in, after the GFC yet. So it's really yet to prove itself.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you much for your opinion on IVC.
Before I get into the next question, if you're listening to this YouTube live stream as a podcast, then we'd love your help, and that means giving us a 5-star rating and writing a nice review. Now let's share the next question, which is from Aaron. Hi Dale and Janine, I'm a newbie when it comes to investing. I bought Woodside at the start of the year at $22, $23. So somewhere between $22 and $23 when I bought the stock. I made a rule that if the stock comes off the peak by 12%, I would sell. Last Friday, the 13th, is that a bit of an omen? The rule was triggered. So I sold it even though I made a profit. From what I heard on the media, that oil could bounce back. I just want to know for future reference, did I make the right decision by following my rules, or should I have kept and held for a little longer? Thanks in advance. Kind regards, Aaron. Interesting question.
I think it's fantastic. He actually set a rule to exit when he bought it, and he's a beginner. I mean, that's phenomenal. And he stuck to it. That's even more phenomenal. I think that's fantastic. He'd make an awesome trader if you...
So you're going to give him a gold star?
I'm going to give him 2.
Okay.
And an elephant stand. Because how many people don't set an exit strategy when they buy?
Yeah.
And yet if they did that, they would make so much more money. True. And I mean, how many times have we had somebody who's come to us like at a seminar or something and seen us present somewhere and they say, I've been trading for years, and you go, okay, so what do you do? And they don't have an exit strategy. And you say, if all you did was do this, how much more money would you make? And they come back to go, bucket loads, because they just keep guessing at the market. But let's get into Woodside. I know this is one of your favourite stocks.
So, I mean, look, just recently it has shown, if we're looking more shorter term, because he's talking about, what the situation is now. So he's bought down here. Obviously it's a good run, and he sold. Did he make the right choice? Right, that's the question, isn't it?
Well, it depends on his time frame. He didn't say that. It's a short, medium and long term. If he's a long term time frame, I think he's sold too early because I think, I think oil's
Not all investors.
Oil's long-term bullish.
Yeah, not all investors are long-term.
No, they're not.
And it depends on his risk criteria as well.
Correct, as a new person.
So as a shorter to medium-term strategy, there's lots of rules, trend line. There's other rules in there that have triggered.
He could have got out.
But he didn't have those rules.
No, he didn't. He used another rule, 12%.
His own rule.
And I love it. I love that he used it.
I mean, you've said sometimes for people who don't have rules, if they've got a rule, use a 15% from a top. And if it triggers that, just get out if you're not sure what to do.
If in doubt, get out. That number one rule. So he's done all that, and obviously it's fallen away, and he's protected his profits because he can get back in, can't he?
That's right.
You know, and there's only got a little bit of slippage and a little bit of extra cost to protect your downside, to protect your capital, because right now he's at zero risk on Woodside because he's not in it.
That's right.
But could he get back into it if it proves it's strong?
He could.
That's it. So, you know, to me, you know, long term, I think oil's bullish. I don't think it's going to come right back. I think some people think it's going to come back. I don't think it is.
Okay.
I think it's more longer term bullish. And not to say it won't come back a little bit short term, but I think more longer term it is more bullish. And I think that's a sad state of affairs. But that's the way it is at the moment.
So you're saying the petrol barrels is going to keep getting more expensive?
I think we're going to be, you know, out of luck on those ones anyway.
Okay, go for it.
Great question anyway, and I do like it. Do you want to say any more on Woodside? Or?
No, I think that's fine.
All
well
right.
done to him.
Okay, fantastic. Well, next is an email from Tony who says, "Hi, Janine and Dale, could you please provide your insights on expectations for tax reporting? I have medium-term investments, short-term intraday trading, and also traded US options. My accountant has indicated that every trade transaction needs to be accounted for in the financial year assessment. Now, I had some concern when this conversation started with, wow, you've been doing a lot of trading. Given I provide broker tax or trade statements, can you please comment on what expectations I should have with respect to reporting difficulty and accounting cost? Cheers, Tony." You know what I would have said?
What's that?
I would have agreed with the accountant.
Really?
I don't know how many transactions he's had, but if you're trading all of those different things all at the same time, you're over trading. Because when we're teaching great traders, what do we teach them? That's 4 different things he's trading: short term, medium term, long term. He's trading US options.
Well, it depends on the individual and what their strategies are. It depends on how many portfolios they're running. So, you know, if someone's got a medium to long...
How do you manage all of that all at the same time?
Well, there's a lot of our students have more than one portfolio, right?
I understand they do, but 4 different things?
4 different vehicles, you mean?
Yeah, trading options, short-term day trading, and more medium to long-term. But that's not answering the tax question anyway. I just would have agreed with your accountant because generally that implies, if you're day trading, that implies a lot of transactions. And how profitable are day traders?
I'd agree with you on the day trading, which we don't think is necessary.
Because most day traders don't make money. All they're doing is churning a lot of money for brokers and not really making much money. He may be different, I don't know. But the tax implications is really, really hard for us to tell you, simply because are you a trader or are you an investor? And that's a taxed... how do you say it? It's not it's a label the tax department
If he doesn't have them in a vehicle, it should be really quick and easy these days with the ATO for the accountant to get that information. I would have
Correct.
thought.
And
But if he's got it in a
super fund, then every single transaction...
if it's a super fund,
every super fund has to be... Every transaction has to be listed and audited, and the costs go through the roof when you're doing that. And that's why with super funds, it's better not to day trade and things like that with them. If you're trading in your own name, a joint name, a company name, then they don't need to see all the transactions. You can give them a consolidated list. If you're deemed a trader, it's just income versus outgoing. So the transactions don't matter at all. So according to the tax department, if they deem you as a trader, and that's about having purpose, like if you gave your accountant a written trading strategy and say, this is my business as a trader, this is what I'm doing, then all it is profit versus losses and cost, and that'll give you a net figure of income versus expenses.
It depends how you're classified, though, and that's where the accountant's got to help.
Correct.
You've got to be careful so don't assume that you are. Yeah.
As an investor, then you pay capital gains tax, and then you've got obviously the 12-month rule and all sorts of other stuff into it. So you do look into the transactions, but I just give my accountant a consolidated view of everything. That's pretty much it. But I could give you a cost? Nah, not a hope in hell. Because really, if you just... It depends on what entity you're trading in.
With investing and medium-term trading, you still need to give your accountant all the details of the trades.
If you're just trading
But
in your own name and you're trading medium term, hundreds of dollars for your tax, not thousands. But if you're in a super fund and you're trading a lot, that's
the cost,
thousands. That's thousands. 2,000-3,000 could be if you're trading a lot. And I've seen some people trade a lot.
Yeah,
in
it can make
super
a big
funds.
difference if people are over trading.
If they're over trading, but that's what I'm thinking. So sorry I don't give you a full answer to that, but I do agree with your accountant.
All right.
Okay,
Fantastic.
sorry. Anyway, well, Janine, I think it's time we actually get into our topic for tonight, which is our thoughts on the recent falls in lithium stocks and whether now's a good time to buy into this area. So, as you can tell, I'm super excited, as I know many of our viewers will be, to see our take on any opportunities that there may be in this space.
I'm excited because some of these lithium stocks will make great trading stocks if you can find ones with high enough liquidity.
Yeah, well, that is interesting, isn't it? Would you like to clarify what you mean by that, though?
Sure can. It's about finding patterns and techniques that repeat. If you find these, they give you confidence that over time it's possible for you to make money from trading. This is important for anyone who's looking to buy, but we'll chat more about that as we go through some of the lithium stocks.
Okay, part of the reason we want to share this topic tonight is because many of you have written in about lithium stocks, especially since they've been falling heavily. Now, last year we also got a lot of questions when lithium stocks were rising strongly, and some of you have picked up on what we've been saying and are getting interested in this area now that the stocks are pulling back. Now, I know many of you are heeding our advice to try and not to catch a falling knife, and this is why you're sitting back watching on these stocks at the moment. But imagine for a second where you would be if you'd bought into lithium stocks just prior to the top when everyone else was excited about this area. Now, I bet you're glad you're watching this show, because I know many of you will remember that last year we were asked many times by viewers whether it was time to buy lithium stocks now, or had they missed the boat.
You can understand those questions coming up, Dale, as at the time some Australian lithium stocks had risen hundreds of % in around 12 months. Reports about spodumene concentrates, lithium carbonate and electric vehicles indicated that demand would continue to increase over the next decade. Some predictions suggested a 10-fold increase, paving the way for lithium stocks to continue to rise. But what has occurred recently is a very good example as to why good news predictions are not always an indication of what will occur in the stock's price.
Totally correct. Why do I agree with you on that one? I'm not sure.
I know you're struggling with that, aren't you?
It's kind of, but you are correct, as we never know what might happen. Now, right now, lockdowns in China are having an impact on the perception about demand for lithium. That said, a number of analysts have indicated that the sell-off is over the top. Now, this may be the case, but clearly lithium is not immune from having large falls.
Now, Dale,
Yep.
I have been doing my research and it seems that there are 3 major players, China, US and Europe, in control of the market for EVs. Globe Newswire reported that Europe is a market to watch and is expected to grow at a compounded average growth rate of 29.6% from 2021 to reach 11.9 million units by 2028.
That's a lot of numbers. Now, I'm sure, Janine, in the research you've put together some pretty graphs for us to have a look at.
You know me too well. I found this little graph on Fortune Business Insights website which shows growth forecast to 2028 for the Asia Pacific lithium market, which has been so strong it all looked rosy for investors. Let's look at the graph.
Well, it does look good, doesn't it?
It does look good. I mean, it's just a continuous growth going up. I mean, I bet there's loads of companies that would love to just see that sort of growth in their own prospects moving forward.
So we're down in the middle bit here. So we're in 2022. So we're saying there's a huge growth potential through here. So that's looking pretty good, isn't it?
It is looking nice. So look, that's what we're expecting to see in our region. But that's not just our the region alone.
Yeah,
that's just part of the world.
That's just the Asia Pacific region.
Yeah, that's right. So just imagine it globally. All right.
It's staggering. I can't add up those numbers.
Yeah, I know. This is just one graph on lithium forecast. There is so much information out there. And one other point I thought was interesting, and in case you were not already aware, according to the Statistica website, lithium-ion batteries are also the single largest end use of lithium, amounting to 74% of global lithium consumption in 2021. There's another type of lithium battery on the market, lithium iron phosphate, which you should look into as part of your own research. Looking ahead, in 2030, the global demand for lithium is expected to surpass 2 million metric tonnes of lithium carbonate equivalent, more than doubling the demand forecast for 2025. And the data indicates increases in battery demand for electric vehicles will be a strong driver of lithium consumption in the next decade. The data is mind-boggling, so the excitement around lithium stocks is understandable.
Very understandable, isn't it? I mean, especially if oil keeps going up.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can just see that in Australia there's just a lot going on, which you're about to share, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, and one for Australia, according to data from Statistica, which you can see on the screen, the forecast for production of lithium here was to increase from 217 kilotonnes to 374 kilotonnes in 2023. Now, we're sitting in the box seat to benefit from the growth in this market.
Of the stocks that we're going to talk about tonight, Pilbara Minerals has been the largest among mid-tier lithium mining companies in Australia to benefit from surging demand. And we could talk on this topic for an hour, but I know that would wind me up long before I got the chance. So let's just get into the charts and take a look at Pilbara and other stocks, which is what I know that you're hanging on the edge of your seat waiting for anyway, along with the global ETF. For those ETF lovers out there who would rather hand over so much control to the big end of town, this is one for you.
Okay. So on the screen we've got. Are you going to start from this one, or you want to start with Pilbara?
No, you can start from. I just put them in alphabetical order.
Well, that's nice of you, isn't it? For people that can spell or not spell, I don't know.
Oh, anyway. It was for you more than anybody.
Right, so what have you got here? So this one here is Core Lithium, which is one that people have rung up about and sent us emails about quite a few times, haven't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, there's a similar theme on each of these charts because you can see there's something I've put there on the right-hand side of the chart.
Yeah. This one on the weekly chart or the monthly?
Yep, you can see that there on the weekly.
Yeah, on the weekly, yep. So it's fallen 38.2 to last week.
Well done, you're a good student.
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
So we can see that there's an interesting point here. One is that this stock has just accelerated rapidly in the last year or so.
There, can't you? Look at that.
Particularly, yep. And what's happened is that there's been this massive increase in the price. So the price, I think, lithium went from about $17,000 a tonne to 70 something.
Yep.
Which is huge. And so that's what was, there's a big drive behind all these lithium stocks. They're in the box seat to benefit for, a long time. But the question is now, how is that being priced in? What's going on with China and how that's affecting all of this at the moment? There's a bit of doubt. But you'd have to say that the longer term for this stock, the trend is definitely going to be up. There's no argument about that.
But there's also the law of supply and demand and the price. If lithium gets too pricey to put in batteries, and it makes production of batteries too expensive, the scientists are going to find something else that's cheaper.
Yeah, sure.
And there'll be new battery technology, and there already is new battery technology coming out that is cheaper, stores power for longer, all that sort of stuff. So that'll make it more viable to produce that and put more time into developing that to take over. So, to me, it's whilst there's a long-term run on lithium at the moment, I think it's good. We should keep in mind that it shouldn't assume this is going to last for 20 years. It's just not going to do that. We're going to have better battery technology in 5 and 10 years, like we've had in 10 years ago to where we are today.
Yeah,
it's massive difference. But so that's CXO. So do you like this stock? I like the look of this actually.
I like the look of it, but I wouldn't be buying it right now. I mean, we're looking here. First of all, looking at the long-term picture. So far, we're down, obviously, for this month. The question is this just a normal sort of a pullback? You would just want to check the history of the stock. I'd say it's abnormal, but it's probably in line with the whole market, doing the same thing at the same time.
But anything that rises that strongly is going to run out of steam eventually.
Oh, sure.
It
So, I mean,
way overpriced.
The great thing about it, though, for this stock is the fact that it's broken that dollar.
Yeah.
I've just marked there. So $1 is just across here on the chart. And it's come back there to test support above it. Now, when stocks get above $1, it actually attracts the interest of a lot of different fund managers. So I think that's great for the stock.
So this is your pick?
It's a stock that I really, really like. It's probably up there in the picks. But when we look at liquidity, we should just really pay attention to what's going on. What were you saying about liquidity before?
Well, liquidity has really, really picked up on this stock in the last sort of 6 months, hasn't it? Really, 6-7 months.
So would you say really, liquidity is good enough?
It's not too bad. I mean, 127 million times $1, so it's not too bad, is it? It's in that ballpark of being quite good. It's not a low liquid stock. It was a few years ago, but right now I think it's looking like
it's looking better given the volume. As long as that volume stays up nice and high, that would be important for
I think
this
the
stock
important thing
going
for
forward.
people to understand why we talk about liquidity is because when you get liquidity, you get more certainty. When you've got more illiquid stocks, you get a lot more variability and volatility and unpredictability in a stock.
Sure.
So have we got another stock?
Yeah, I think it would need to prove that it's going up for me to want to take it though this time.
So that move this week is nothing.
It's not enough.
It's not enough for you.
No. All right, so next we've got Lake Resources. Now,
another one they've talked about a lot.
The interesting thing about this one is how far this rose.
Yeah.
I mean, if we come back to this point here when it started to take off in 2021, it rose 460 almost % to that high. Now it's come back a long way. Let's just have a look quickly.
This is one of those stocks you wish you put more into it when you bought it.
Yeah, well, this one's come back. You couldn't be complacent though.
No.
It's come back 52% from that high, and it's actually given I think it's given an exit signal at least, but it's come back to the angle of the trend. We often talk about stocks doing that. You can see underneath there. So what are your thoughts?
But it has got a possibility of going down below $1, hasn't it? Really. So at this point in time, it still hasn't. I mean, this is a weekly chart, and unlike the last stock, it really hasn't given us strength this week, even though it gapped up to here. But given it's fallen this far, it hasn't. It's fallen a lot further than the previous stock. So it's quite possible it'll. If I drag that down, it's quite possible it could fall down to in sort of this area around 80, 90 cents, or even further than that. But at this point in time, it is holding up a little bit, but it's way too early for this one.
Yeah,
but I don't mind it though.
I think the volume's a lot, more patchy. But let's just see what it's doing more recently.
It's a lot less. 74 million there. It's a lot less.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on the stock price, but I guess it's come back to around similar levels. So yeah, I agree with you. But then we go to Mineral Resources, MIN.
Yep. Okay,
so now it's a much bigger stock, trading at a higher price. It's actually held up better.
Yeah.
So this looks quite interesting, the fact that it's done that. Let's just go down and have a look at that volume. I'll get the crosshair on there so we can really see.
Yeah, look at that, much bigger.
So it's, when you look at the total dollar value of you times that volume by the value.
Like $50, $60, yeah. It's a much different ballgame,
It's a much different stock. It's probably going to be more reliable in terms of trending. It's not necessarily going to give you as big a rises, although you might be surprised at the sort of gains you could get. So where's that one? July was it 2021? Let's just have a look. I think is that what I've taken there? It's actually gone sideways since 2021. So I'd actually want to know why. I'd have to go and do a bit of research to understand that. And I suggest that people do that. If you were looking to buy this stock, have a look at why some of those smaller lithium companies took off and this one really has just gone sideways.
Well,
it had already had its run.
Yeah, but this is what the quote that you mentioned at the start of the show, what we're talking about is in last year, since 2020, we've got a whole lot of new people in the market, bucket loads, record levels of new people who've never bought shares in their life before.
So they're buying all the penny stocks.
So they're seeing some of these stocks go, and they always talk about lithium. They've jumped on lithium. They've made a mozza out of them, and I think they're really knowledgeable and they can trade. But this is why some of those smaller stocks have been hammered where this one hasn't been. Because why would they buy a $50 stock?
Yeah,
because they would think, oh, that's really expensive compared to one that's 20 cents or 30 cents.
Yeah.
I can buy more of these 30-cent stock than a $50 stock. But they don't understand that's not how you do it.
Yeah, I don't know whether there's more to it than that, whether it's something to do with the contracts that the company's got in place as well, which you need to look at. But yeah, that could be part of the reason. Good thought.
A lot of speculators in those smaller ones.
Yeah, okay. And then Pilbara Minerals is another one. So it's looking quite nice, I think. Since around, what's this date here? I've got middle of 2021, 165% growth to the high. But as you can see, it's fallen 40%. So it's almost like a replica of what's happening on those other smaller stocks being sold off. It's broken the angle of that trend without a doubt. So it would have to do a fair bit to prove that it was going to rise again for me. I still do like the stock, but I'd rather see it come back a bit further first. Before.
As long as it stays sort of above sort of 220-ish, I think it's still looking all right. I think, you might get a bit more downside on this, but if it goes through that sort of 220-ish sort of bracket, $2 bracket, I think it could go all the way.
On the downside, you mean?
Yeah, on the downside. If it turns around and falls away again and goes below that sort of 220-ish market, it could head down to 140, I'd say. But at
it
this
could
stage,
just trade sideways for a bit now. But it's an interesting stock. I think there'll be more opportunities to trade it. But
as long as it holds up at this area, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I think given the history of it, you could find some really nice rules on this. The volume that we've got here,
that's
I think.
massive.
Yeah.
Compared to those other ones.
Yeah, it's really good, isn't it? So there's good liquidity in that stock as well if you're wanting something to trade that's got good liquidity. Sayona Mining was one that we had on the show recently, I remember.
Yes.
So I put that one in there as well. You can see its history. It's quite patchy. It may have been a backdoor listing, as we talked about before. We looked at this breakout, this sort of sideways move, and it had broken out from that. So that date there is March 2021, but in the middle of the year. Where have I done? Oh no, that's 22. Is it? Have I put the wrong? Well, what I was trying to show here was what happened following that breakout from that sideways move.
So it went up 188% out of that from March this year.
Yeah, and the fall again, it's in the order of 40% from the high, but it may not have finished yet. It's just a pullback. We're not seeing any sort of test or any. Nothing's happened to tell us that the low's in yet. That's what we're looking
and
at.
if this thing starts to fall away, you're going to get mass panicking, because if you look at the volume,
it's not liquid. I mean, it might go up, but for a couple of weeks, it's possible, and then you might have a better idea about whether it's going to continue to rise or not. But we need a few weeks up first, or a couple of weeks up.
Well, you have. I mean, look at the volume in that breakup through here. So this breakup through here, looking at the volumes increasing. So, and the biggest volume there is in that week of the 8th of April. So if we go up here and you look at here, that's that week, and that's not uncommon to see volume rising up on a speculative sort of stock or low cap stock like this. That as it starts to move up, the more and more people that don't have the knowledge jump in trying to make money out of it. And that's what you're getting that's what I was getting at before, is the people who have the least amount of knowledge of looking at stocks like this. Oh, it's 20 cents, it's really cheap compared to when we looked at the Min, which was in $50.
And this could be in its early, when you look at the monthly chart, and I know that because the chart, we don't know the history of the chart, okay? But when you look at the long-term picture, if you were thinking that there's upside, there could be. I mean, look where $1 is.
Yeah, look, it's right up through here. So it could go anywhere, but at the moment it's,
it's got to do a lot to prove itself now, doesn't it?
Because if it breaks below that low in the next few weeks there at 22 cents, then this thing could fall right back down into these sorts of areas again. But the more it turns around now, the faster this move's going to happen, and the more people will panic and jump out. And obviously you'll get a lot of people, the majority of people bought in here, because you can see that massive volume. So they're the ones losing at the moment, and they're probably ones going, what do I do? What do I do?
Yeah,
and they're the ones that send us emails saying, well, I've bought this stock, what do I do? But that's where that young guy
So this wouldn't be your preferred pick out of those lithium stocks, is what you're saying?
it wouldn't be. But that's that young guy that we had before who'd said he had a stop loss on his stock. To me, that's brilliant. I'm so proud of him for doing that sort of stuff, because I know how tough that is to do that, where so many times, every week we get email after email after email of people saying, I bought this stock and it's falling away, what do I do? But that's the question you ask before you buy.
Sure, definitely. I can see you're inspired.
I am. I think it's fantastic, and I give him an elephant stamp and 2 gold stars and a pat on the back, and I buy him a beer one day.
Excellent.
So how's that?
Fantastic. Now
I've never bought you a beer.
No. Let's look at the next one, shall we?
Okay.
All right. It's the Global Lithium and Battery Tech ETF.
Yep.
Okay, so you can see there on the monthly chart side, there was this long period of consolidation from around 2010 all the way through to this period when the lithium price took off.
Looks very similar.
What's interesting though is that when COVID hit, the actual price dropped through the floor for a while, and then it took off again.
Yeah, but the whole market was bearish, so you would have got a lot of people with
there was an explosion of demand. It was just incredible.
Yeah, but that's, as I said, that's what we saw out of that COVID crash. All these new people in the marketplace who didn't have a lot of knowledge, and as the quote you said is...
No, I'm just saying the price of the raw materials.
Yeah.
There was an explosion in that.
Oh, okay.
And
sorry,
the demand and the production of the vehicles, etc. Because
we've
people
got
were buying
really big
more.
on...
And I think China had actually encouraged more people to buy electric vehicles, which is great.
They are, and a lot of countries are, and obviously a lot of people putting solar on their house and getting the Tesla batteries, and now there's a lot more batteries. I went to the home show in Melbourne only 2 weeks ago, and there's not just the Tesla battery anymore, there's multiple different brands of batteries that you can have now. They're all lithium-ion batteries, aren't they?
Yeah, look, I think there's new ones out, the lithium iron phosphate, which is more stable.
Yep.
for
Well, that'd be good. So I don't want my skateboard to blow up, my electric skateboard or scooter or whatever it is.
Yeah, more for electric, better suited for banks and electric vehicles. So let's have a look then.
Okay. So if somebody doesn't want to pick one of those other stocks, they could get in on something like this.
On an ETF, which, you know, I mean,
Yep.
I guess my comment in the earlier in the show was handing over the control to the big funds who run these sort of ETFs.
Yes.
By not buying the individual stocks yourself. I mean, that's what's happening, isn't it, essentially?
Because this is a smoothing of all of those sort of stocks that are in that sector. You know, I haven't looked at what they actually invest in, but they might invest in 20 companies or 100. And they might invest in lithium companies all around the world, which I would suggest they probably are. So to try and smooth that out. So you'd think if lithium is moving up, this thing would go with it. But you're probably not going to get the same returns as you would on an individual stock.
Yeah, look, I mean, interesting though that it fell 36%, which is neither here nor there when you're considering stocks had fallen 38, you know, to 40%. It's not really any different. So there's no sort of real protection from an ETF is the point that I was wanting to make at the end.
Okay. So to wrap up everything you've talked about, right now it's too early. On all of those stocks, you're saying it's too early.
But obviously, it's a lot better position to be in, to be looking to buy now or waiting patiently than it was prior to the peak, which is the point we're making.
Okay, so don't jump too early, or don't jump now.
Yeah, because there could be further downside, as we've highlighted.
There could be further downside. Okay, safe. So
and even if we see a short move up in the short term, for short-term traders, there may be opportunities. But if you're more medium-term,
that's high risk, though.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying this, because if you're more medium term, you're not just going to jump in after a couple of weeks off the bottom.
Okay, but there's a couple of cool-looking stocks there that they should keep their eye on. So keep an eye on some of the stocks. Me, the first one, I think, wasn't it?
I like that one as well. We'll just go back to that one briefly.
Yes, CXO.
So that was Core.
Yep.
Core Lithium, CXO. I also liked, Lake was back 50%, but see, that may mean that there's an opportunity once it comes back to the angle of that trend and it takes off.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, that's it for our topic tonight. Now, before we get into our next email, I do hope you have your phone ready and have been patiently waiting for the opportunity to call into the show to ask Janine and I your most burning question. So now's the time to get dialing. The number you need to call is 03 Melbourne 92909988. That's 0392 909988. So pick up your phone, get dialing down, because we could absolutely love to speak to you.
While you call us, we will get into answering the next question, so call now. Now we have a question from Jazz. Can you please have a look at Costa Group and give your analysis if you can start an upward trend from this point or go further? I bought it at $3.42 as it was steadily moving up on a weekly basis, but then suddenly reversed. Fundamentally, it does look good and the stock is just over on my stop loss. Many thanks, Jazz. Great question, and we'll have a look at the chart for you.
Jazz is a regular on the show. He's good. So thank you for the support, Jazz. I really enjoy it. So it was a good stock there for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Costa looks like it was coming off a bottom off there, and it still may be, but we just had a bit of a sell-off, haven't we, just a couple of weeks ago?
Well, this could be just a dead cat bounce where you get that false trigger, it goes up, then comes back to test the major low and then takes off again. So it could be just a dead cat bounce.
I guess the risk is, you know, I mean, if that's the purchase price, I'm not sure exactly what it was. Do you recall where it was? That's 16%.
Let me have a look, but I think it was 342. Well, it's 342 he bought it at, wasn't it?
Yeah, but at 342, but it hasn't actually closed on any week. If he had a 15% stop on it, so here we go.
He'll still be in it.
1542. It depends on his rules though, what's there, but it's not like it's definitely pushing lower at this point, so it may still be okay. So
do you know what I learnt recently? I mean, Costa's in fruit and vegetables and stuff like that, and farming and all that sort of stuff. So I've known this company for decades and decades because it's a Gillham company. But I found out recently they're in funds management.
Really?
They're in some financial services. They're actually invest in a company who does emerging company funds and things like that.
There you go.
How's that? Isn't that nice trivia, isn't it? And I met the person doing that, managing the funds. So there you go. So they're getting their fingers in lots of pies, if you pardon the pun.
All right, excellent. Well, look, the risk, I guess, would be if it falls below that bar that we looked at, it was 3 weeks ago, the low, then it could end up taking out the March 2022 low. That's the real risk. So you're saying hang tight, make sure you've got a stop loss on, and you might still be okay. I would say definitely that stop loss is important. Decide on your rule.
Okay. All right, well, we do have a caller on the line. We have Irene there. Is it Irene?
Yes.
Hi, Irene. Welcome
are you,
to the
Dale?
show. I'm fantastic and lovely to have a lady on the show. Where are you from, Irene?
I'm from Sydney.
Fantastic. I love going to Sydney. I miss it. I've been there for years. Can't wait to get back. But you have a question for us tonight?
Yes, I wish to ask. The share, the code is NFT.
Yeah.
Why it's usually, when it's war, the gold will up, but how come it seems like it's getting lower and lower recently?
Yeah, gold's getting hammered at the moment, isn't it? Do you own the stock at the moment?
I'm watching. I just.
Okay, so you don't own the stock and you're probably looking to determine when it's going to stop falling, but I think we just got cut off from Irene, but Janine's going to bring it up. I know you've got a lot to say on the stock, haven't you? We
do have a lot to say, don't we? So look, there's a lot to talk about with gold as well.
I know, but why is gold going down?
Well, that could be a whole show that we talk about.
All right, so we're not going to tell them now, we're going to keep it a secret, so watch next week, that's what you're saying.
Do you really want to do that?
No.
Okay. All right then. So we're having a look at gold. Yeah. Now, gold has got sold off with the market.
Yes, it has.
Quite heavily. We've seen that happen. And there's a part of me that thinks, well, okay, I understand the whole point about, okay, if inflation's rising, then and people are not going to have as much money to spend on gold, because I think 40% of the gold in the world is consumed for jewellery and things like that, isn't it?
I don't know.
These days, it's quite a large percentage.
I just keep buying stuff for my wife.
But and I think if there's more people like you around, then maybe we're going to have
diamonds,
a lot more
diamonds, gold, diamonds,
demand for gold going forward.
I make her avoid jewellery shops altogether. I walk between the jewellery shop and her all the time.
Right.
Okay.
But look, I mean, so I can't sort of reconcile what's going on at the moment with the talk of inflation and rising interest rates at this point now. When it's the turn of the cycle and we're still in a boom phase that in theory should last for a few more years yet. We've seen record spending around the world. People are still buying property, which is still going really strong. But they talk, any slight negative thing, they just talk it big time. And then we see markets get sold off because that's where they want the markets to go.
Correct.
They're just using that information to
hedge
scare
against
people.
Inflation, and it's not necessarily defensive anymore, is it really?
Well, look, I mean, I could see gold taking off and going through its all-time high.
Yeah, it could, but when?
Well, look, I can't give a time frame just yet, but if we do a topic on it, if you allow me to do that and we get enough demand for that.
Okay, people, if they put the comments down below and they say, I want a stock on gold, show on gold, then we'll do that, okay? But they have to be putting it in the comment section.
Well, what was I found bizarre was the fact that a lot of these big brokers were coming out and saying, by the end of the year, we think gold's going to be, I don't know whether it was 10 or 15% lower than where it was trading currently. And I'm thinking, who cares what it's going to be at the end of the year? Like, why are they bringing up trying to get headlines right now if they're not trying to talk it down?
So Northern Star's going down. Yeah. It doesn't look good at the moment. Stay at it until it finds some support.
Well, look, at the moment it's actually trying to find support. So gold stocks look like they're trying to find support.
Okay.
But we just need to wait, because at the moment, if she's not in it, then you just wait.
Yep. Okay. Cool. All right.
Yep. All right, that's it. We've got another caller on the line, and it is Mac. Hello, Mac. How are you this evening?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Great, thank you. Good to have you on the show with us tonight. And you've got a stock for us tonight.
Yes, Santos.
Santos, and what's your question on Santos, please?
Well, I've just bought a small amount of Santos, but I looked at the trend, and the trend over 6 months seemed to be terrific.
Right, yes. It does, yes. You've just bought. The trend looks good. And what is it that you would like to know?
I just wondered whether you agree with me that Santos is a great stock to buy.
Okay. Well, you want us to help you talk it up?
Or else get Dale to.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. Yeah, get Dale to do it. All right then, Mac. We've enjoyed the little chat there. Have you got the stock in your portfolio at the moment?
He just bought it. Yeah, he just
Sorry,
just bought it.
You did too. Did you buy a decent position? Oh, he's gone.
No, he bought it. He said he bought it.
How come people are leaving me before I get a chance to ask them questions?
He said, I bought a little position and I've just bought it.
Was it only little?
He said, I've only bought a little position and I've just bought it. So,
okay.
Does your husband say, you don't listen to him either?
Look, don't go there.
Okay, I'm not going. Cool.
All right.
So, I like this stock. I think it's going to $100. Should I say that for Mac?
Yes.
No, okay, I'm not going to say that for Mac. It's not going to $100, but I do like it. I think it has been up, hasn't it? You can see that on the right-hand side there on your monthly chart, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 months-ish up, but it has a little bit of weakness through here, but it's still looking quite all right, isn't it?
It is.
And
It's a volatile stock,
resistance.
but it's actually holding up well is the point that you're making, and it's in the right sector, which is great.
Yeah, and I think he's going to do well. Well, I think, the sector's good, the stock's looking good. If we bring it up here and we have a look at the all-time high, it's way, way back here. So there's plenty of upside move. Obviously, it might get a bit of resistance around that sort of $9 mark, but I think he's done well, actually. It is a bit volatile as long as he's got a stop loss on it.
Yeah, I agree. Good one.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, moving on, we have a question from Joe, our regular Joe, who says, hello, Dale and Janine. I wondered if you might be able to take a look at Xero, please. Do you think it stopped falling? Why is it that a stock that is so profitable can have such a declining share price? Thanks, Joe. Really good question, isn't it?
I don't understand this one either.
I don't understand this at all.
I think it's obviously the tech sell-off and they're just trying to short. I think the shorting, really, when I look at it, how can they short it anymore?
How can they short it anymore? I think, yeah.
They've tried to squeeze every little bit of juice out of it, but it looks like it's in a really nice downtrend now. We can get a nice trend line down there on that decline.
So bring up the chart and have a bit of a look at it, because really its all-time highs way back there in December 2020, so it's sort of been falling over anyway. And maybe there's a lot of profit taking on this because it has been such a darling of the market, hasn't it?
Well, I think when we reported on this, on this last time, we did say that we thought it could fall further.
Yeah.
It hasn't actually confirmed that it's going to rise from here. So I should clarify that point about, that it looks like they can't squeeze any more out of it, because at this stage, because that's still below the trend line, it could just slip a little bit lower before it starts to move back up. But this could be a good one once it's confirmed. Yeah,
it could be. And I would just say stay watching it. But it looks like, if you're looking up here and you're seeing this, it was up at $157 and now it's sitting down. Well, it got down to, from 157, it got down to, was that 75? So it's halved in price. So if it doesn't find some support through here, it's going to be heading to sort of that between $50 and $60. So just wait, because unless
so
it
that's
can break
the downside
through this level,
risk.
That's the downside risk
to that point. But then, obviously with that trend line in place, it's a really good yardstick, isn't it?
It is a really, really good yardstick. So Joe, just keep watching it, and we're just as perplexed as you as to why Xero just keeps falling away, because you are right. It's a great company. It's got, it's profitable. It's doing well, but its share price is not. So I just think it's probably a bit oversold at the moment. But just sit back and wait and be patient. But we do have a caller on the line, and I believe we've got Max there, have we?
Yes.
Hi, Max. Welcome to the show. Where are you from?
I'm from Perth, Dale.
Fantastic, sunny Perth, and you've got a question for us tonight?
Yes, look, Dale, I'm overloaded in mining stock, so I'm looking at MP1.
Yep.
I'm not really keen on cloud business like Xero and so forth, but it looks quite promising. They're coming back. They dropped today again, so I don't know if it's now the right time to get into it or just wait and see.
Okay, so are you looking for this short term, medium term, or long term?
Well, I think it's a short term.
Yep, so looking at this one short term. All right, so Janine's got it up there. We'll go and have a look at it now, but thanks for calling into the show.
No worries.
Right.
Now, I thought that was interesting that Max said it looks promising, because I'm not really quite sure of what he's talking about. He might be talking really short-term view. But
no, I think he talked about me being promising.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
I won't go there.
Okay.
I could say something.
Well, I agree with you. I don't think the stock looks promising at all.
Look, I think it looks really... It could be getting close to a bottom.
Fundamentally, it could be looking promising, because I don't know the fundamentals, and Max didn't mention that.
Yep.
But it need to have some good fundamentals.
To me, it's just like a lead sinker that's dropped into the ocean. And how far is it going to fall? Well, it might find support between $6 and $7. Let's just wait and see.
Yeah, it's way too early to even be looking at this stock at the moment, Max. It really is. It's not. We're looking at the volumes through here really picked up, but it is falling fairly hard at the moment. Nothing saying that it's finding some support. So if you're buying in here, it would be trying to bottom pick, and you know what happens when you pick your bottom? You get yelled at. Sorry. But yeah, it looks like it's going to fall a little bit further to me. But even at the worst case, it's going to find some support and maybe travel sideways for a little bit.
Now, this show's supposed to be above the belt. Can you please stay there?
Oh, so I was below the belt, was I?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, it looks like we have another caller on the line, which is fantastic. Nick, how are you this evening?
Good, thank you. This afternoon.
Great, thank you. Good to have you on the show with us tonight. And you've got a stock for us and a question.
Yes, regarding Yancoal, so YAL.
Yep.
Being coal, is it looking like it's going to be quite bullish? It started a bit of an uptrend. I'm currently doing your course at the moment, so I'm sort of applying those sort of principles to it.
Yep.
But it did track sideways for many, many years. But is it sort of turning a corner, do you think? As much as the world's going green, they're always going to be digging coal out of the ground. So
That's true. Look, there might be a few people that don't like you now, Nick. Okay, all right. We'd love to have a look at the stock for you. And Dale, have you got anything you want to say about the stock?
Look, while the world is going green, it's not going to go green really, really fast. And considering China's putting more coal-fired power stations too, so you can't just get rid of coal. And Australia has some of the best coal in the world and some of the most expensive and high, what do they call it, thermal coal at the moment. So, you know, we're going to get good prices for our coal for a long time. But geez, I do like the stock. I think it has turned a corner. If you look at the chart, Nick, and really you are right to pick it. It is looking up beautifully, this nice rise, and it looks reasonably sustainable in terms of all that. It has had a bit of a breather here, but looking quite good. But there's plenty of blue sky here. At the moment, it's at $6, and its all-time high up there is, we're talking about $11.76. So there's plenty of room in it. You wanted to say something, Janine?
I just want to check something, just because it's a stock that we don't often look at. I just want to make sure the data's all there for us.
The challenge you're going to have here is obviously it's got quite vertical over the last few months, but you should be able to trade it. But looking, I mean, obviously Nick said he's doing our start. He's in the middle of our course. I didn't say where he was in our course, but doing it. But the challenge is getting in and getting out of it, having a good set of rules, a great set of rules on it. And what we're seeing here on, if you look at it on a monthly chart, you're seeing here that it spends a lot of the time sort of not going down. So it hasn't had too many big uptrends, and when it does, it really spikes quickly. So, and now the patterns that you talked about earlier on those lithium stocks, if you find a great pattern, you can trade it.
Yep.
But how do you find a pattern on a bull side on this one? So
exactly.
So you're not going to get a high degree of conviction with any rules on this one at the moment. So there may be better stocks to trade, I'd say.
Well, I guess on the bull side, it's just had an experience of just going straight up, and that's all you can see, isn't it?
Correct. So whilst you can make spectacular profits out of it, what rules do you set around it? That's the point, isn't it?
Great point.
So that's what I was talking about.
Okay, next question is from Jason. Hi, Janine and Dale. I came across Downer EDI Limited, DOW, and thought it looked like it was in a nice 3-month uptrend from March. It's retraced back to 0.5 on a Fibonacci line, and I think the industrial sector's travelling along well at the moment. I'm looking at buying possibly when the market settles and starts to look like it's moving up again. It looks to have potential to get to around the $660 to $690 mark, with a stop around $5. I'm interested in your thoughts to see if I'm reading this the right way. In my picture, I'm aware there could be some upside resistance on a trend line. Regards, Jason. All right, fantastic. Let's have a look.
Yeah, Jason had some other stuff on there, like moving averages and other bits and pieces. He did put that picture there too, but we don't show people's pictures and stuff like that. But what do you think? I think it's looking good actually at the moment.
I mean, for a start, we're not looking at a stock that's volatile like this.
Yeah.
It doesn't show that volatility from that picture there, but if you go to the history and look at the monthly chart, which we will in a minute, it will show it. I just wanted to talk about his levels that he's picked.
Yeah, you talk about that.
Because I don't see the point in having two levels that close together.
No, I don't
A lot
either.
of people do. They just look at too many levels and end up, what's the point in having that there? You could just say, okay, 670, 680. I like the fact that he's looking at the upside.
Like but 687 is the high there, so why?
Because a stock, when it moves up to these levels, often will just go through them anyway.
Yeah, correct. It probably will. I mean, obviously where it is right now, we're talking about, that's about 16, 17% through there, right up to about 20% through to there. So I think he'd be cutting himself. I think it'd go much further than that if it does break through. But when I looked at his chart, his trend lines are not good. So, I mean, obviously that's not a perfect trend line that I've driven there, but I think it's already gone through that resistance anyway. So you were going to say on something else?
I just want to look at the monthly chart because it's always important to have a look at the personality of the stock before you decide to trade something. Now look at that. Now that looks like what Qantas looked like a little bit years ago, how it was just this terrible sideways move, nothing much happening. Now, COVID might have flushed out something. Maybe it's changed a corner, but I just think it looks ugly.
Yeah, no, it does. And it is interesting. It's like looking at what is right, because he mentioned 0.5 on the Fibonacci, which is half of the Fibonacci range. He looked at half of that Fibonacci range that he did. But a lot of people look at it the micro view, and that's what I was talking about yesterday on the market wrap, because I was talking about, somebody asked me a question about how do you learn charting. And I said, well, you can learn charting on a YouTube video or buy a book, but doesn't mean you know how to chart. And I said, comparing that to you or me, how good are you at doing something like that?
Yep.
And I mentioned how you were hand charting for years, and so was I. And people came back to me and said, wow, that's a great explanation of what you did about the difference between, because people see these Fibonacci things all over the place and moving averages all over the place, and they think they really know what they're doing with them, but they really don't most of the time. And it's the difference between knowing what something is and knowing how to use it properly.
Yeah.
And reading the chart, because you've just shown them reading the chart for the longer term give you a whole different view than looking at it at that microscopic
Yeah, that
view.
longer term picture just tells me that if you're trading it really short term, it's probably okay for that. But the personality of the stock is not saying that it's really conducive to anything better than that. That's all. But really interesting pick, and great that you're in there and having a go. All right, next we've got a caller on the line, and it's Bob. Hi, Bob. How are you this evening?
Oh, I'm very well, thanks, Janine. How are you?
Good, thank you, and great to have you on the show tonight.
Well, thanks very much. Yeah, it's good to be in touch with you guys.
Yeah.
Look, the question I have is BHP and Woodside merge. I guess you're across what's happening as far as the exchange of assets. There's BHP is going to give, you're going to get one Woodside share for each 5 BHP that you've got. And there's also a cash consideration, I think, from BHP to Woodside of $914 million. And there's going to be an in-specie payment, I think, of so much plus for BHP shareholders, plus a fully franked $1.98 dividend to be paid. My question is, that's $1.98 US. My question is, what adverse effect, I suppose, will there be on BHP, as I'm a BHP shareholder? Do you think, I guess?
Look, I mean, in theory, the market's been wanting this for a long time. So on one side, you'd think that it would make it a hell of a lot cleaner for BHP in the marketplace then, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think so.
So in terms of it moving forward, but from a charting perspective, at the moment, it's really unclear what's going that impact is going to have. And so unless that's why we just wait until the dust settles. We're not too concerned about what's going on at the everything.
I'd wait for them to offer the steak knives, because they're offering everything else, aren't they? So.
Yeah, they are. They're throwing everything in. And everything's being done on, I think Woodside meets on the 19th of this month. And then you've got to make it, if you're a BHP shareholder, you've got till the 24th. I was going to probably buy some more. I thought I might buy some more BHP to be able to get more exposure to Woodside.
I think you're a winner no matter which way it happens. I think they're both going to be great stocks moving forward long term. But, right now the jury's out a little bit, aren't they, really, on the stocks? Because it's that holding pattern at the moment, because they're such big. BHP is one of our biggest companies. Woodside's a great company, but it is sort of cleaning up things a little bit, isn't it? It's a bit of house cleaning, I suppose, for BHP. It's getting out of that petroleum business and maybe get back to what it does best. I don't know.
All right. Look, thanks very much for that.
Isn't it?
Yeah, excellent question. Really good to talk about these, because when a corporate action is going on, often the share price does nothing anyway for a while, or it falls if the company's taking over another company. So sometimes it's better off if you're thinking about buying something, which is not exactly what Bob asked. Yep. But if people are out there thinking about purchasing them, sometimes you're better off just to wait until all the dust settles, see what happens with the share price, and if it's growth that you're wanting, and then wait for that opportunity for when growth is more likely to be in the share price.
Yeah, if these were more lower cap stocks and that doing a merger or demerger, that sort of stuff, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But BHP and Woodside, I'm not really concerned about it at all. But that is our thoughts at the moment on the BHP Woodside, or BHP demerger or merger with Woodside, however you want to call about it. But now, Janine, I know you love hearing great stories and nice comments from our viewers, and we did get a lot last week on our show and from our market reports in the last 2 weeks. So please, and I definitely would love to hear more of those, and especially what you're doing with it. Are you trading with what we're talking about? Are you getting better results? What are you doing? put it all down below in the comment section, because we love having a read of those and finding out what you're doing. But so if you're just sitting there watching the show thinking, geez, I'd love the team to know how well I'm doing from watching the show and what I'm learning, then reach out to us and share your experience. Whether you're watching on YouTube or you're doing it on Facebook or listening on the podcast, please take the time to comment below in the comment section. But if you are listening to us on our podcast, please leave us a 5-star review on whichever podcasting app you may happen to be listening to right now.
You can also reach out to us through Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @WealthWithin, or you can simply hashtag the Australian Stock Market Show.
Now, if you enjoyed watching tonight's show, give us a big thumbs up. That means click the like button underneath the video to let Janine and myself know that you've enjoyed the show.
If you called into the show and missed out on us answering your question, then watch our show next Tuesday between 7 and 8 p.m, as we'd love to chat with you. If you're not able to watch live, you can also email your question ahead of the show. You do this by sending your email to info@wealthwithin.com.au, and remember, include Wealth Within Live in that subject line.
Yeah. No, otherwise we won't answer it, right? Also, we'd really appreciate your support for what we share with you each and every week. And you can show your support by subscribing to our channel. So if you have not done so yet, hit that subscribe button now.
Well, that is it for tonight's show. We do hope that you've enjoyed what we presented tonight. We've so enjoyed receiving all of your emails, and thank those who called into the show.
Great questions.
We love the opportunity to chat with you personally.
As always, thank you for joining us, and we do hope you have a fantastic week. But for now, goodbye, good luck, and good trading.
Good night.